there's this loneliness epidemic. There's this loneliness piece of our humanity. We're so connected, by technology, and yet the loneliness is just so pervasive in our world, in our churches. We are wounded in community, but we are also healed in community.
Mm-hmm. Everyone has been wounded, and some have been more wounded than others for various reasons. And it hurts my heart because, I think the enemy wants to use that hurt to keep you lonely, to keep you out of community, to keep you unhealed. I recently saw this video that said in the Gospels, Jesus was asked 180 questions, and he asked 380 questions and directly only answered 3. And you go, okay, there's something in that asking.
Hey friends, welcome back to Halfway to Sunday. Today's conversation is for anyone who feels lonely, who has been wounded in friendships, or wants community but doesn't know how to begin again. My guest is my sweet friend, Janelle McGuckin. She is a wife, a mom, a nurse, and an author. And we're talking about forgiveness, healthy boundaries, and why meaningful community does not require a perfect home or an oppressive meal. Sometimes it begins with one prayer, one text, and an open seat at the table. So friends, enjoy my conversation with Janelle McGuckin. But wait, Janelle, what was your favorite moment from Portugal? I know you got to go and visit, but I have to know the favorite part.
Oh my goodness. It kind of surprised me how much I fell in love with Portugal because it was never on my list. And we had a credit with British Airways. And so Scott's like, hey, let's go to Portugal. I've heard a lot of people saying it's so great and fun. And it totally blew me away. It is beautiful. It's safe. It's kind, friendly. It was easy. There's a lot of people that speak English. Most people speak English too. And we started on the southern side of the country, which had very Southern California vibes, very familiar feelings, along with, thousands of years of Mediterranean history and all of that. But it was, I think the thing that I took away the most from Portugal was the beauty. And it was the beauty of God's creation. It was the beauty of his people, the way that we were welcomed in as tourists to local Portuguese restaurants where we had this meal where the husband and wife was the chef and they came out and talked to you. They only sat 8 people for the evening. There was no hurry.
Oh,
and
I love that.
It was delicious. And anyway, we had the best time, but beauty from people, God's creation, flowers, architecture, the creativity of God. Anyway, it was so wonderful. We loved it so much.
Oh, I am so... Portugal has recently become a place that I want to visit. And so I love this. I also love that this was inside baseball, everybody. This was a celebration of 30 years being married, which congratulations. This is so fun. We are big fans of the McGuckins. We are big fans of your marriage. And so I love that we get to celebrate that. But friends, welcome to Halfway to Sunday. We are so glad that you're here. As you heard, we have my sweet friend, Janelle McGuckin, joining us. And you may have remembered the episode that she was on with me and Dre as we talked about her new book, The Gift of With. But we get to dive into so much more today. But Janelle, before we do all that, because we could talk forever, so I want to make sure we don't miss this. Tell me something good. What is bringing you joy this week?
Well, there is so much, honestly, when you start asking that question. I feel like so many things come to my mind. Can I narrow it down to one thing? But the little joys that I feel like have been so sweet to start my day with has been, we've had just kind of a mild summer so far here in Northern California. So we've been sleeping with our windows open or the whole house fan on. And I am waking up to the sound of birds. And they're singing and chirping and playing. And it's the sweetest sound. And I wake up and it makes me happy. The first thing, even I wake up early, I wake up about 5 or 5:30 every day. And the sound of the birds is just the most joyful thing to start my day. And I know science, because God is in charge of science and overall of science. But science will
Yeah.
tell you that the sound of birds is the number one sound to reduce your cortisol level. More than the sound of the
Okay.
ocean or more than the sound of running water, it's the sound of
I did
birds.
not know that.
I know. I know. So I just think it's the Lord's way of waking me up like a hatch,
Oh.
alarm clock.
I love that. It was so funny. Actually, it brings me to my joy of the week. I've had these fun moments of friendship. Having breakfast with one of my good friends, having a phone call with my friend who lives in the Midwest. And it was so interesting because my phone call with my friend who lives a very different life than I do in the Midwest. It's somebody who's been on the podcast with us before, Val. We love you, Val, but her birds are different than ours, which is, I know, that sounds like such a ridiculous thing to say, but when I'm on the phone call with her, she's sitting outside, and it's so interesting because I'm like, oh my gosh, it is just so sweet. It is just a sweet moment of not only friendship, but hearing like you said, like that nature, and that it is different than here in California. And so it was really, really fun. But Janelle, you having this conversation with you is honestly, I've been looking forward to it for weeks. You are one of my absolute favorite people. And if you'll let me just kind of peel back the onion just a little bit, so many conversations that I'm having recently, whether here on the podcast or in person, or even just listening to other conversations or messages, there's this loneliness epidemic. There's this loneliness piece of our humanity. We're so connected, by technology, and yet the loneliness is just so pervasive in our world, in our churches, and even there's been like this, I don't know, but maybe this struggle of being able to pursue community or maintain community in a very divided world, in a supercharged, we got to disagree, or we can't be friends because we disagree. And so if you would be willing, Janelle, I would love to hear how your faith, how your relationship with Jesus, because I really do think it does start there. How does that inform? How does that maybe inspire how you show up in community and how you show up in friendship?
Yeah, there's so much to that. So I'll start with the loneliness piece. And I do think you hit on the technology influence, which I feel like gives us that mixed message of, we kind of know what's going on in a lot of people's lives, but we don't really know their heart, know what they like, know what kind of coffee they order, know what they want for Christmas, know whatever, their hurts, their highs, their lows. And I heard, I think it was John Eldridge that said, in gregarian societies, you were connected to about 150 people. And within that, you have smaller, subgroups too. But with technology, we are connected to so many more people globally too, which can be cool, like your friend in the Midwest that you get to stay connected with because of technology. But it also, I feel like, can spread us thin or create a false sense of intimacy. And then you end up feeling lonely because we're way beyond that 150. We're maybe 1,000. And then you add news into that or stories, and our hearts just weren't meant to carry that much. And so you kind of have this oversaturation or compassion fatigue because it's so much, And so I think also, I think it was Bob Goff that said something like, who are the people that are going to be on your hospital bed? And you can only fit 8 or 10 on your hospital bed. So I think, in terms of that, it just, and then, and putting that before the Lord, who created friendship and created community himself and showed us what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then asking him, what do you want me to carry? What do you want me to jump into or not jump into relationally, globally? What have you given me to kind of rule with you in my
Yeah.
area of influence and not feel like it's all up to me. And I feel like that's one whisper that the Lord says often to me is, it's not up to you.
It's so interesting that when you were first on the podcast with me and Dre, and I think it was episode 33, I'm going to double check that and I'll put it in the show notes for sure. But you talked about this, practice, but then we also got into your story where there was some woundings that happened in community there, when you were younger, when you were about to get married, and there was this loss of community. And I think that I know I have experienced that myself. And I know that so many people listening have either had a friendship not go the way they had hoped it was, or how like we think that it's going to. There has been so much, especially I would say in these past 6 years, kind of since COVID, that there's been a lot of disruption in relationship, and it has been a challenge. And I think I'm stumbling over my words just a little bit because it feels painful. It still feels painful when you think back to what was that no longer is, even in a marriage situation or a family member who no longer speaks to you. And so there's this really, I'm going to say, tough tension between, okay, Lord, I'm trying to be obedient to you. I'm trying to live in that presence, like you were just talking about, that witness. And also there's this side of community that is tricky, and it is there's woundings there. And I would love to hear maybe your insight into how we navigate that with forgiveness, with grace, but also, Lord, what do you want me to do with this?
Mm-hmm. What you just asked, I feel like is the best advice. Lord, what do you want me to do with this? And
Yeah.
I think asking the Lord, he often says, ask me. And and I recently saw this video that said in the Gospels, Jesus was asked 180 questions, and he asked 380 questions and directly only answered 3. And you go, okay, there's something in that asking, Lord, what do you want me to do with this? And then it's often a long wait of what he's doing, what we can't see, what he's working out. I think, you were maybe referencing the divorce with my parents, and Scott and I were getting married, and my parents were marrying and, walking away from the Lord for a long time, and knowing how to stay in relationship and love them and also have healthy boundaries. I'm not saying like don't
Yes.
be in unhealthy situations and just take it in an unhealthy way. I'm not saying that at all, but there are things that the Lord might call us to do when we ask him, like, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to show up? How do you want me to love? And I do feel like he will bring those things to your mind. And if you're wondering if it's from him, I'll often ask, Lord, is this from you? Can you confirm it? I want to make sure this isn't my own motive or my own dysfunction. Yeah. And he can work in all of that, thank goodness, because we're all hot mess, and we all have weird motives, and yet we all do deeply desire to be known and loved.
Yeah.
And not just to be known, and not just to be loved, but both together is the way he does it with us. He knows us and loves us despite of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really our deepest core desire, is to be known and loved. And so he knows that, and he will bring to mind, or kind of like, sometimes I feel like it's this kind of burn in my heart to reach out to someone, and I'll be like, is this from you? Or is this my own desire to be liked or accepted? Yes. And just kind of waiting on it. Like, he's not in a hurry. Like I don't have to rush him, and go, okay.
But don't you find that when you send those text messages, like I would say 9 times out of 10, and don't check my math because I have no idea if that's true, but I feel like 9 times out of 10, the person on the other end goes, I really needed that. Thank you. How did you
Yes.
know I was
Yes.
struggling? How,
Yes.
I can't believe that you texted. And so I wanted to speak into that because sometimes it takes going first.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes the Lord, like you said, okay, there's this nudge, and I'm going to keep
Yes.
nudging you until you do it.
Yes.
Because you're right, because he's not in a hurry. Sometimes there
Yes.
is urgency, don't get me
Sure.
wrong, but
For
like,
sure.
I love that you bring that up because Jesus is the best friend. He's the best
Yes.
example of friendship and loyalty. And he is the best person to bring all of that to.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that prayer practice of, when I'm laying it before him, naming it, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
important, naming this grief or this burden, desire, whatever it is. When I'm laying it before him, I feel like he is working out in me too when I'm
Mm.
saying, I'm inviting you in, but I'm saying, Lord, I want this to be different, or I want to know what you want me to do in this, or do you want me to wait and trust that you're working, um, and show me. And then I think, he'll start nudging my heart, or like you said, it'll come to mind to send someone a song or
Yeah.
that's been ministering to me. And I'll say, Lord, is this you? And then I'll send it before the enemy's like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And because there's that too,
Yeah.
resisting the, minimizing or, oh, that's dumb. Or the enemy will say, oh, you have
Yeah.
nothing to say.
The enemy's such a
Um,
jerk, man.
oh, such a jerk. And, and so, but like you said, the responses of people that go, oh my goodness, like the Lord totally used that. And you go, thank you, God, that I get to like
Yeah.
co-labor with you in this. This is so exciting. And it builds your faith and other
Yeah.
people's that are watching. Um, because, it's not usually one single transactional. The Lord has layers and layers and layers of his plans and purposes. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just see one, but I think when we get to heaven, we're going to be telling those stories of like, remember when, you sent me that text and
Right.
I turned and, did this to my relationship or whatever else. And we get to hear these stories about how God was moving and working. And we just saw like a little snippet of it, but it was this whole unfolding. And I just think this is going to be like lots of storytelling in heaven.
Before we continue with our conversation, can I ask you for one quick favor? Our hope at Halfway to Sunday is that every conversation helps you know God more, love him more, and remember just how deeply you are loved by him. If this show has encouraged you, helped you feel less alone, or helped you see God at work in your own story, would you take a second to make sure that you're subscribed? It may seem like a small thing, but liking this video and subscribing to the channel, it helps bring these stories of hope to more people who may need the same encouragement. It costs nothing, takes only a second, and truly helps us continue telling God's story through the lives of everyday people. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. Okay, let's head back to the conversation. And it baffles me and amazes me and honestly inspires me almost every day that we get to be a part of God's story, that he involves messy, dysfunctional humans and
Yes.
just invites us into those moments like you were just talking about, where it's just like, I can't believe I get to be a part of this moment where whatever it was, the nudging of the Holy Spirit, or like you said, sending a song or sending a text message that blessed someone else. And I'm like, that wasn't me. That was the Lord inviting me into being part of his story. And I think that so much of this struggle in community, there could be pride, there could be woundings that absolutely, those are important to address. But I guess what I'm hoping we can help someone listening, help each other as we have these conversations. How do we become the kind of people that go first? How do we become the kind of people who help to create or are obedient in creating those healthy communities instead of just waiting for somebody to find us or to create it for us?
Mm-hmm. So true. I think I think it does take intentionality and
Yeah.
what you said, invitation.
Mm,
And I think it's easy to think that everyone has enough friends or everyone's busy.
yeah.
But an invitation for dinner or a walk or something, I think is a little bit more rare than we think. We moved to Southern California when the girls were little, kind of a calling that we felt like the Lord was calling us to, and it ended up being about what He was doing in us, not about necessarily the job.
Yeah.
And we thought we were going to a job that would like fulfill more meaning and purpose in our life because it was, Christian based. And what was fascinating was out of 3 years down there, other than our close friends that we already had, we got invited to dinner one time.
Mm,
And I think it's easy to think, like you said, everyone's, you know, already has friends and is busy. And you just think, no, 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 like just an invitation to dinner. And that you don't have to be a cook. You could get takeout, you could go out to dinner,
yes.
you could like just have happy hour on your porch, whatever it is that you're comfortable with. But an invitation really does start friendship and community.
Yeah.
It really does. And so I think there's a resistance to it because, oh, I don't have time or I don't have the right things or I'm not gifted in that or whatever. And I totally understand that. But
Hmm.
find what works for you. Maybe it's going out to dinner or it's like going for a walk. There are things, and that's another thing. I would say, ask the Lord, Lord, what
Yeah.
I don't feel gifted in this. Help me. What do you give me an idea? And He does have the best ideas. He really does.
He does. I I am going to kind of go first here for a second because this has been something on my heart for a while. Lord, what do you want this to look like? And for a while, there wasn't a lot of clarity. There wasn't a lot of whatever. And I think that was because I wasn't quite ready yet. I needed to um, maybe find some healing or find the confidence in Him, because that's really what it comes down to. Because it is vulnerable to start new friendships. It's vulnerable to make those invitations, especially if you're out of practice or you didn't grow up that way. You didn't grow up in a home
Yes.
that was very invitational. That's really hard to start that on your own. And one thing I feel like the Lord has been inviting us into recently is opening up our home. We open up our home to our small group, but like we don't do a ton of like those extra things, those dinners that you were just talking about, those moments of fun and fellowship that the Lord really does want for us. And so we have been working on it, and I prayed about this, and so we've been working on this. And the Lord gave me a date, and He gave me people to invite. Whether they'll come or not, I have no idea. And Janelle, um, don't worry, you and Scott are also going to be part of this Sabbath dinner. And it's so weird because I think people are going to go Sabbath, but I really feel inspired. I've heard, John Mark Comer or there's a couple other people talking about Sabbath, where this communal aspect of rest, this communal aspect of faith that I think that we've moved away from or are scared to maybe navigate forward in. And so it's vulnerable, and it's a little bit like, will anybody show up? And then all of a sudden, Janelle, like I asked the Lord for help, and I was released from any expectation. Whoever shows up, shows up. There's a seat at the table, and it is going to be a regular dinner that happens to also be this rest, this invitation to rest in God's promise. And so I think that maybe whoever is listening, maybe that's what you need to hear from this episode, where it's been hard. There has been heartache and hurt and loss. And maybe there has been a divorce where you have all new friends, or there's community feels weird. To figure out what works for you. Like Janelle said, like a dinner or going out to dinner or inviting people into your home. What is it that works for you? And then I'm also going to say, at least for me, the enemy will immediately try to make a mess of it. And I don't know about you Janelle, but like the enemy will just try to get in your ear of like, well, you don't have this or you don't have that. Do you have enough this? Do you, whatever. It's this spirit of lack that I just hate. And so how do you, because I know that you have this gift of hospitality also. I do know that to be true about you. How do you just lean into whatever community or relationship? How do you lean into the openness and that obedience?
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that people don't always remember what you served them, but they remember how you made them feel. So when you are excited to see them, you've done just a little bit of planning by going to the store, takes time, putting out a drink. I know we've been to Refuge together. When you get back from being out playing and they have like a tray of drinks to greet you, like I just learned, I took away from that, like I am going to have just drinks out when people arrive, right?
Yes.
Like just having a drink out. I think it's so funny that Delta Airlines has like the best ratings in airlines by far. And I swear one of the reasons is because you're offered a snack like right when you get on the plane.
I think that there's something to that.
I know. I'm all about the snacks. Like I just feel like you don't have to be gifted to put out salami, cheese, and crackers and an adult beverage or a non-adult beverage out when people arrive. And that just says, hey, I've been thinking about you and I'm excited you're here.
Yeah.
And just, I think just also, praying over your time. We prayed over this podcast before you started it. I think praying over the time that you are going to invite people over ahead of time against the thief that wants to steal. And then also just inviting the Lord's presence. People will sense that when they walk into your house, like God's Spirit's here. And that's what's going to make them feel the most loved, not your gourmet dinner, So I do think it takes practice. And, I've made a lot of mess ups along the way of like adding too much garlic or doing too many, I burnt something or whatever. But you know what? It's not about even being perfect either. It's about just creating the space. That unhurried space, that Sabbath thing. Sabbath isn't just like laying on the couch. It's community, anything that brings rest. So it's being out in God's creation, and it's just not producing for a day or not thinking it's up to you for a day.
That's so good, because I think that we picture things in our head, at least, or maybe I should just speak for myself. I picture these things in my head, how it's supposed to go. I think that it has to be one way or the other. And the most joyful and rest-filled moments are when I actually walk in that obedience into what the Lord has asked of me. It is the most peace-filled when I actually set aside my agenda and say, okay, Lord, what do you want in this moment? How do you want me to set this up? And this is probably the first time that as I've been thinking about this Sabbath type dinner that I have released pressure. I have some questions of, okay, Lord, how do you, should I move the furniture and just like invite, and just like set up a whole bunch of tables? There's questions that I still have, but also like there's no, I'm going to say shame. There's no shame associated with it. There's no lack associated with it. And that's, I bring that up because it's so easy to say, well, I don't have, like I was just saying, I don't have what it takes to host something nice. And that's just simply not true, because if you're doing it out of obedience to the Lord, He'll give you everything you need. And that could be going out to dinner. That could be a picnic. That could be, I don't know, going on a walk. And I think that like we serve such a creative God. And I think that if we just let ourselves be creative with Him,
Hmm.
then like that just opens up a whole new space for
Hmm.
community and building that community.
Yeah. And another thing is, some people might have a friend who is more comfortable, cooking,
Mm.
and you can co-host something,
Yes.
and so it doesn't have to look, like you said, one way or whatever expectation. Let the Lord, like, He's infinitely creative. And I will say, um, I've been paying attention to, um, a lot of the Lord's ministry was around a meal.
I yes.
And there's a book that I love, from, the troubles in Northern Ireland, and a lot of the
Mm.
healing was taking place around a meal, around a
Yeah.
table, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be all blissful and good, but there's something about breaking bread together, and if you're comfortable sharing a glass of wine with someone,
Yeah.
and there's something that can happen around a meal, and His Last Supper, the breaking of the bread, of you know feeding
Right.
5,000, feeding 4,000. I mean, that's a lot of meals. I couldn't do 5. I couldn't do that many. But my favorite is like 8 to 10 people, just because I feel like it's manageable and not too big. Some people like really big parties. Some people like one other. But anyway, whatever that is, I do think that there is restoration and healing that can happen around a table.
Yeah.
And so if you are longing for community, and we all desire it, whether you are building it from scratch, because of hurts or the stage of life you're in, or you're just open to however the Lord's continuing to build your community, I
Yeah.
think, there's creative ways to do that. And like you said, going for a walk, sometimes we'll go for a walk with another couple, and walking and talking is, another thing that Jesus did a lot.
Yes.
He would walk from city to city, and it is a form of EMDR. You're moving your body, you're talking, so you're getting counseling at the same time. So, yeah, around a table meal is great, but be creative. It can be,
Yeah.
many different things.
You talked about our time in Montana at Refuge, because and for people who don't know, this is a retreat type place where they just invite ministry leaders and people who just need to find rest. And they are so good at hospitality. They are so good at taking away some of those barriers that people have to fully rest, to fully find that peace that honestly only Jesus can bring. But they really do set the table to, no pun intended. They really do set the table for rest and peace and connection. And one thing I think that I learned from Refuge is just that creating a safe space for people to be able to be themselves, but also to feel safe enough to encounter Jesus and to encounter each other in a real and authentic way. And so I feel like, we've gone on this whole journey of community, of what it looks like, because sometimes we do get wounded. And also, as our friend Dre reminds us, we are wounded in community, but we are also healed in community.
Hmm.
And so what blessing or invitation would you speak into someone who's listening, who is afraid to take that first step, who is maybe not so sure that they want to build community because of the woundings, or that they just don't know how?
Well, I would first, say, I'm sorry you've been wounded.
Mm,
And that hurts my heart, because
yeah.
everyone has been wounded, and some have been more wounded than others for various reasons. And it hurts my heart because, I think the enemy wants to use that hurt to keep you lonely, to keep you out of community, to keep you unhealed. Like
Yeah.
Dre said, you need to heal through community. And it
Mm,
doesn't mean going back to the community that hurt you. And the
right.
Lord might be calling you to forgive, but that doesn't mean you go back to it. Forgiveness doesn't mean you go back to it. Um, but it means it's not like hanging on to help, to hinder you from moving forward.
Yeah.
And so I would start with asking the Lord, this desire. Will you show me one person to reach out to, and
Mm.
and take that initiating, and also say, and Lord, I would love to be asked to dinner. Can you provide somebody? And
Right.
and it might not come for the timing you think it should, whatever that is, that day, the next day, the week, whatever, because we're so bound by time, but the Lord is not. But just keep asking
Yeah.
and waiting. And then when you can see and know that the hand of the Lord has done this, you know without a doubt that he has given you that gift and you haven't forced it.
Yeah.
And it will help you cherish that even more. And relationship is messy. Small groups are messy.
Yeah.
You've got like all messy people. We're all mess. And you stay in it together, despite the mess. And families
Mm.
are messy. And, stay in and love the way the Lord's leading you to love. And let him counsel your heart, because he is the best counselor. But yeah, I think it's about, honestly, your overflow with the Lord is going to be the best
Mm.
gift to the people around you too.
Yeah, that's good.
And when you can show up with, a full heart from the Lord filling you up, you're going to be a better friend to the people around you too, rather than needing something
Yeah.
from them. You're going to be filled up from him. And out of that, you can love your spouse and your kids and your friends the best way that you can, because we just need a filling of him every day to be able to even do that.
This connection point to Jesus is, I feel like, that first step of good community, of good friendship, of that authentic living. And if you were to introduce all of our friends listening to a new friend who doesn't know the Lord, how would you introduce your friend Jesus? What do you want people to know about him?
That is exactly it. He is a friend. He is a friend. And I think we all have, different backgrounds of how it affects our interpretation of who Jesus is. But he is a friend of all of
Yeah.
us. And he's a friend of the sinners and saints and all of us in between. And we're all in that category. And so I think when you think about Jesus as a friend, you go, oh, okay, you're not up there saying I need to be better, and you're not even up there. You're here, and you want to
You're
sit across the
close.
table from me, and you want to get to know me, and me get to know you, and me open my heart to you, and have friendship with you. And when
Yeah.
you taste that friendship with Jesus, you want
Mm.
everyone to taste it, because it's not a duty of rules and followings and things like that. We want to follow Jesus out of our love for him, not love him to try to get, approval. It's
Yes.
it's out of my love for him that I want to obey him, that I want to follow him, not the other way around. And we get that all messed up because of the way the world works. Is if you do this, you get this. If you know, there's just like cause and effect so much in our life that it's hard to think of Jesus as just this friend who wants to come be with you and come
Yeah.
live in you and redeem you. And it starts with just saying yes to his invitation, and then you get to invite him back in. And it is the best journey of your life. And I can't imagine going through hard things without the friendship of Jesus, because
Yeah.
he does lighten your load. He does carry you. And it doesn't mean that it's all unicorns and rainbows, but it's lighter and
Yes.
hopeful and
Yes.
good.
I'm going to toss you into this maybe hot seat for a second of, okay, you're hosting a party, you're hosting a dinner, 8 or 10 people, whatever it is, your sweet spot. What is it that you are setting at your table that is easy, that is something that you're just like, this is the way I'm going to show my friends that I love them.
Ooh, I love this. Well, I did mention that I will have a beverage waiting for you when you get here. I do usually put if it's more than just a couple, I usually do have a sign on my front door that says, come in, just the door is open, in case people arrive at different times. I think having the table set already for whoever's coming is really special for people. So I like having the table set. And I'm a Trader Joe's junkie, so
I was waiting. I
know you were. Yes, I did stand in line for the striped bags. But I do think that Trader Joe's does help you with shortcuts. And so I think having the table set, having a drink waiting, I like having a little bit of music playing in the background and a candle lit. And as I light the candle, I like inviting the Lord in with the candle, signifying his presence. But I think those things, and then it kind of doesn't matter what you serve, I mean, yes, it's just, and the flavor of the day, whatever it is, it could be grilling burgers or hot dogs like 4th of July, or it could be making a fancy salmon or something too. So I think it's having the table set, having that intentionality, a little bit of thought ahead. I think the thoughtfulness is also gotten less and less in relationships. And so when you know that someone's thought of you ahead of time, it makes you feel so special. So setting the table, having a drink out, turn music on, it's a good dinner party already.
I love that I get to call you friend. I love that I get to see you on a regular basis and just experience your warmth and authenticity. But I love that our friends listening get to know you and get to experience that as well as they listen to this episode. And my friend, we talked about this. We've talked about it a few times, that you were on the Halfway to Sunday about a year and a half ago. I can't believe it's been that long, when you released your book, and I have it here so that people can find it and also just get to know you better. But please go back and listen. We talk a little bit more about Janelle's faith story. We talk about just the way that you experience but how can our friends connect with you as we end this episode?
Well, you can connect. I'm on Instagram, Janelle McGuckin, and then also The Gift of With. So either way, you can connect with me there. And I love to meet new people and hear people's stories.
Friend, I am so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your heart. And just thank you so much for sharing your heart with us. I love you so much.
Oh, love you.
Friends, I'm so glad you're here. I hope you leave each episode feeling loved and seen. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And while you're there, would you share it with someone? And if you found this to be encouraging, empowering, or it equipped you in any way, would you leave a rating? That helps new friends find us and join our community, and we would love to hear from you. Finally, don't forget that you can join us on Instagram and TikTok at Halfway to Sunday. See you there.